In history and throughout the centuries, there were many different execution methods and torture methods used, and some rulers and kings even deployed animals to become weapons that would bring the end of someone's life. There were rulers inside of India who had elephants trained that could stomp someone to their deaths, and they were even known to throw a victim up in the air and then impale them on their tusks. This was to symbolise the power of a ruler, as they could even command the most dangerous of animals. But inside of ancient Rome they used damnatio ad bestias, damnation by beast, and this was where a victim and a prisoner was thrown to a dangerous animal, such as a lion or a bear, and they were then expected to fight the beast. Some were given little weapons or armour, and this was practically a death sentence in itself. But even the worst and smallest animals could be used in torture and execution, and one of the most shocking torture methods was known as rat torture. But what is this? Welcome to the Fortress. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe. Rat torture was where guards of a prison or a castle would use rats and mice to cause pain and suffering onto a prisoner who had no chance of escape, and the animals were encouraged to maim and eat the skin of the unfortunate soul who was experiencing this. It was used inside of many different towns and cities throughout history, and of course many people associate rats with disease, and they were the carriers of the Black Death, as the fleas that caused the deadly pestilence during the medieval period were on the back of the rats. But there were specific parts of the Tower of London, a fortress synonymous with torture, where guards inside the facility would get rats to then use for torture later. Specifically inside of the Tower of London there was a place near to the River Thames, presumably in one of the outer towers, known as Rat's Dungeon, or the Dungeon of the Rats, and inside of this damp and dark room close to the river, the rats were encouraged in from the River Thames. It was claimed in this that a cell below high water mark and totally dark was used to entice the rats from the Thames to come in. The guards had a constant supply of these animals to then use in torture, and it was claimed that prisoners were to have been alarm excited when tortured using rats in the tower, and that they had flesh torn from their arms and legs, as the rats bit and maimed them. There were rats used to inflict suffering and pain onto prisoners at the tower during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, the younger daughter of King Henry VIII. It was a time where torture was usually administered by the Queen herself, meaning that Elizabeth I encouraged this and signed off on it. There were specifically Catholic priests and writers who were subjected to rat torture, and these would have been forced to experience this as the torturers wanted information about other banned Catholic priests and worship. Rat torture was deployed in many different countries, and not just in England though. It was used more recently than you would imagine, as during the dictatorship of Pinochet in Chile it was deployed, and also has been used recently inside other South American nations such as Argentina and Brazil. One man during the Dutch Revolt had a pottery bowl which was placed upside down on his stomach, and then rats were introduced. He was tortured, and then the bowl was heated up, and the rats were inside of this, and they became so panicked that they began to eat the stomach of the prisoner and to try and burrow out through his human body. Rats were often associated with disease and dirtiness, and this was a torture method which must be considered one of the worst in history. To have rats trying to eat someone's body, and they would have been only removed if the guard felt satisfied by the answers given, must have been harrowing and brutal. Also, one thing to consider is the injuries sustained throughout this torture ordeal could easily become infected, which would also lead to death, as there was little to no knowledge about infection and how to treat this. Thanks for watching. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe, and once again, thank you so much for watching.